Alright guys, today we are away from the computer because I want to do a slightly different video today and just share my thoughts from what I've seen doing email marketing for e-commerce brands since 2020. Now we've worked with dozens and dozens of e-commerce brands over the years, from 7-figure brands to 8-figure brands, 9-figure brands. A lot of those brands we've helped scale to those levels. And if you run an e-commerce brand, you have a leaky bucket on your hands. Now, I'm going to explain what that is in this video. And I'm also going to explain how you can plug as many holes as possible in the leaky bucket so that you can scale much more seamlessly. I see a lot of e-commerce brands spinning their wheels because of this issue that I'm going to talk to you about today. So why do I say you have a leaky bucket on your hands? Well, the first thing is that an e-commerce brand, inherently, you are getting customers to purchase from you, and most of those customers are purchasing one time. There's a few exceptions, right? If you only have a subscription offer, or if your subscription offer is very, very strong, the majority of people to buy a subscription offer, right? But the reality for most brands is that they do not have most of their customers going into subscription, let alone do they even have a subscription program. So what this creates is that, you get customers to buy, you pay for those customers, and you might even be trying to run a strategy based on lifetime value where you're affording to pay more for a customer on the front end to then recover and recuperate that revenue at a later stage. So the leaky bucket, where does this come in? Well, let's use the analogy of a bucket that has holes in it. And the water that you're putting into the bucket is your customers, right? You're putting a lot of effort. You're sourcing this water. You're putting a lot of effort to put it into the bucket and make sure it stays in the bucket. And that is converting customers into, first-time buyers. But then what happens is those customers rarely come back and purchase again. Maybe you have a 30% returning customer rate. Maybe it's higher, right? I know a lot of brands who they don't really focus a lot on ads and they focus more on organic and word of mouth and referrals. They have a much higher returning customer rate, sometimes 60%. And that's great. But when it comes to scaling and growing a brand to 8 figures, multiple 8 figures, 9 figures, that returning customer rate is going to drop because you have to go to colder and colder audiences to get more customers. And what I'm going to talk to you about today, if you can implement this sooner rather than later, it's going to save you a lot of headaches, and it's going to solve a lot of problems that are going to come up in the long run. So my advice is to, watch this video, take some notes. This is from experience, and I'm creating this video because I don't want you as an ecom brand owner to have to face the same things and face the same pain that we've seen ecom brand owners face time and time again. So the holes in your bucket are pretty much all the areas where a customer can leak out, right? They're not contacted in time. They don't get a good, follow-up offer. They're not pleased with the product experience. Like, there's so many things that happen, right? Sometimes customers even just forget, right? And they just need reminded to come back and purchase again. But the main issue is that this is what you have on your hands, right? You have a leaky bucket. So what do we do from here, right? If that is a reality of your e-commerce brand, what do we do? Well, the first thing is understanding how do we plug those holes, but also understanding what are the biggest holes that we can plug, right? Because if you look at your bucket and there's some holes that are huge, and then there's some other holes that are tiny, most e-commerce brands, if they understand this principle, they spend too much time trying to plug the tiny holes in their bucket, which are not leaking out a ton of water. And they forget the huge gaping hole that the majority of their customers are leaking out from. So working with, someone who is very experienced in retention marketing, lifecycle marketing, who can look at data and understand where customers are dropping off, how they're leaking out the business, that's going to help you to identify that. First of all, map out your customer lifecycle, your customer journey. Understand where customers are coming in. What is the entry point? What is the first product they're purchasing in the majority of cases? And then based on that, what are they purchasing next? The ones that do come back and purchase next, what are they purchasing next? How long between the first and second purchase, on average, does it take for them to make that purchase? And then you start to see patterns in terms of how your customers behave. And with the specific customers, you want to understand what is making them come back and buy again, right? Are we sending out an email? Is it something about our post-purchase flow that's getting them to come back and purchase at that time frame? And maybe you find a correlation. Most of the time you won't. And usually that's because there's no system in place to get customers to come back at a certain time period and purchase again. Now, as a brand owner, you know your product's the best. You know the product cycle. You know when a product is going to run out if you run a business that, sells consumable products, or if you sell products that are not consumable, such as t-shirts or, sofas, furniture, whatever it is, then you can also understand what is the right time for someone to experience the product before I introduce them and make them, get them to come back and purchase again, right? So you need to use a little bit of heuristics, which is ultimately the data that you've gathered from speaking to your customers, from running your business for however long you run it for. You need to apply some of that because only you know those learnings. Maybe some other people in the company do, but That's going to be a good source of being able to understand when should we actually hit these customers back, okay? The actions from this, to do that, then you want to audit your touch points after the purchase, right? Audit your email flows, your SMS flows that happen after the purchase. You should be running direct mail for existing customers. It is very effective for existing customers. It's a different type of touch point. The delivery of that is extremely high. So someone might not be seeing your emails because you're landing in the spam folder, promotions folder, or even their inbox is just flooded and you're not standing out, across the hundreds of other emails they get. So direct mail. And another game changer that we've seen is calling your customers, is having sales agents, people on your team who call customers and ask them about their experience. Now, what does this do? Ultimately, the reason why someone is going to come back and repeat purchase from you is because their experience with you, their experience with the products, the outcome that they've experienced is highly, highly positive and overwhelmingly positive that they have no choice but to come back and purchase again. It's a no-brainer, right? Think about the products that you purchase over and over again. Some of them are necessity, right? But specifically look at the ones that aren't a necessity that you purchase over and over again. Or even, you can look at the necessity products that you purchase, but why do you purchase maybe one that's more expensive than the other? Quality of product, experience with the brand, fast shipping, like pinpoint what it is, and then pinpoint what it is about your business that gets customers to come back and buy again. If you take the time and effort and invest in calling up your customers and asking them about their experience and really taking an interest in who they are, what they're experiencing, what they're going through, answering their questions, listening to their feedback on the product, ask them, hey, what can we improve about this, right? You're a valued customer. We're going to listen to you. And when you do that, it separates your brand from 99% of the brands out there. And if you look at your competitors, the chance of them doing this is really, really low, right? Now, there might be a few competitors that are doing this. Okay, great. But here's the thing. When you do this for your customers, it's going to build so much loyalty that transcends the any post-purchase email or SMS, even direct mail that you can send, because now they are emotionally linked to your brand and they spoke to a human who cares about them at your brand, at your company. And now they're associating those positive feelings with you, but also the product and the outcome that they're experiencing using the product. So not only are they going to come back and repeat purchase from you, they're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their family, they're going to post on social media, they're going to leave a good review on Trustpilot, they're going to go to Reddit and comment and say, hey, I had a great experience. I spoke to John at X or Y company. He asked me these questions. He took my feedback into account. Great. And here's the thing. This is hard. It's not easy. It's relatively simple, right? If I told you to go away and set up a sales team that's going to call customers, you could do it. No problem. You'd figure it out. The problem is most brands don't want to do this because they see it as a cost and not an investment into retention. And this is really the game changer for your leaky bucket. When you look at retention marketing as investment, as, hey, if we're going to be around for 10 years, 15 years, if we're going to sell this business, we need strong retention marketing. We need to get customers to come back and buy again and again and again. Strong lifetime value, not just 30-day lifetime value, but 365-day lifetime value. Customers coming back and repeat purchasing for years. And if you look at some of the biggest companies in the world who run e-commerce, they have strong returning customer rate and strong lifetime value. And that just not only gives them a very good multiple on their enterprise value and their sell value, but also it just allows them to be so much more efficient and effective on customer acquisition. If your LTV is so much stronger, now all of a sudden you can spend more than your competitors to acquire customers. You can eat up more market share. You can start to see how this is a positive upward spiral. Whereas if your retention is poor and you have nothing in place and customers are dropping out, most of them are not coming back and repeat purchasing, you very quickly get into a negative downward spiral, because weaker LTV means you have to be profitable on first order or break even. Because of that, you can't spend as much as your competitors. You reach ceilings of scale because you try to scale past 10K a day on ad spend or whatever, and you see diminishing returns. You physically cannot spend without going above the target CPA. And what that means is that you get stuck, you plateau, and it's a downward spiral, right? You start to see the difference here. So this is really what I wanted to talk about today. And there's some action steps within this video. I would, rewatch this video, write down the action steps. I'll recap everything at the end of this video just so that you have everything that we spoke about. But guys, this is what separates the brands that scale to 8 figures, multiple 8 figures, 9 figures, for the brands that stay at 7 figures. It's very easy to get to 7 figures without any retention marketing in place. We've seen it time and time again. You can even get to 8 figures. It's hard, but it's possible. But if you want to sustain, if you don't want to do high spike down in terms of your revenue and growth, this is the unlock. And it's not something that a lot of people talk about. I don't see this content a lot about even the action steps that you can take. And the sales team is a hidden gem. And if you can do that, and if you can implement that, and just start with one agent, hire one sales agent, have them part-time, get them to phone a set number of customers every single day, and refine your process over time. Give them guidelines, frameworks, questions to follow, record the calls, use AI to synthesize the transcripts of the calls, and start to draw insights from the data. If all of this is something you want help with, and just overall you want help with your retention marketing, this is exactly what my agency does. As I mentioned earlier in this video, been running a marketing agency since 2020. We've seen a lot, we've learned a lot, and this right here is the unlock. We do this completely done for you. We handle all your email, your SMS, we even do direct mail, your retention marketing strategy, understanding that customer journey, lifetime value, reverse engineering lifetime value to your customer acquisition targets, because we also have an arm of the business that does customer acquisition with paid social ads on Meta, ad creative. So we understand the full picture, and we know what it takes to grow brands to 8 figures, multiple 8 figures, 9 figures. So hopefully this video is valuable. To recap, look at your customer journey, your customer life cycle, map it out on something like Figma, Miro, Whimsical, create a visual of what that looks like, a flow chart with the specific timings, with the entry points, what products people are purchasing first, what are they purchasing second, and so on and so forth. Then from there, you can understand, first of all, when you should be contacting customers again to come back and repeat purchase through your emails, through your SMS, through direct mail, and of course through your phone calls. And from that, you build a strategy that's going to allow you to have multiple touch points across those different mediums to get customers to come back and purchase again. You're also going to start to develop the right offer that you should present to customers at the right time when you do contact them. And also you might have offers that work better through phone call versus through email. And these are insights that you're going to gather over time. It's not going to happen in a few months. It's going to take a few years. But trust me, this is what you need to do to build a sustainable brand. This is going to solve a lot of headache. It's going to save you a lot of pain. And I've seen a ton of brands scale too fast on acquisition, not have the retention in place, and have to scale back down to then rebuild back up. And trust me, that is not something you want to do. It is highly, highly painful. And having a right partner on board to help lead this side of the business for you is critical, whether that's, someone in-house, whether it's an agency. Regardless, you need someone else to focus on this as a business owner, as the founder, the operator. You need to be focusing on other things, right? Especially if you want to scale to 8 figures and beyond. So I'll leave you with that. If you like this style of video, this very raw, uncut, unfiltered, just sharing my thoughts from what I've seen over the years, then leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to create more like this. But yeah, that's all for this video. I wish you the best of luck. And as I mentioned, if you are interested in us doing all this for you, there's a link below this video in the description. You can go to my website. You can book a call directly with me. We'll talk about your business. Worst case, we give you some insights you can apply at your current position. And best case scenario, there's a fit for us to work together. And I'll tell you what the next steps look like. All right, that's it for this one, and I'll see you soon.